Isabella Martinez was Royal Caribbean's most popular cruise animator. Passengers loved her, children followed her around, and the crew described her as sunshine personified. But when terrorists boarded the ship and tried to take control of the bridge, no one could understand what the code name she spoke into the microphone actually meant. Which city in the world are you watching this video from today? If you liked this story about those who serve in silence, please subscribe and support us for more stories. The Royal Caribbean's Harmony of the Seas was one of the largest cruise ships ever constructed, a floating city capable of accommodating over 6,000 passengers and crew members across 18 decks of restaurants, entertainment venues, swimming pools, and luxury accommodations. At nearly 1,200 feet in length and weighing more than 200,000 tons, the Harmony represented the pinnacle of modern cruise ship engineering and hospitality services. The ship's 7-day Mediterranean cruise had departed from Barcelona with passengers from dozens of countries, creating a diverse international community aboard the massive vessel. The itinerary included stops in Nice, Rome, Naples, and Florence, offering travelers the opportunity to experience European culture while enjoying the luxury amenities and entertainment options that made Royal Caribbean cruises popular with families and vacation travelers worldwide. Among the hundreds of crew members who worked aboard the Harmony was Isabella Martinez, a 28-year-old woman who served as the ship's head cruise animator, responsible for organizing daily activities, evening entertainment, and special events that kept passengers engaged throughout their vacation. For the past 3 years, Isabella had been one of Royal Caribbean's most popular staff members, consistently receiving excellent ratings from passengers and recognition from management for her creativity and professionalism. To the passengers and crew who interacted with Isabella daily, she appeared to be exactly what her job title suggested, an enthusiastic entertainment professional with a background in theater and hospitality who had found her calling in the cruise industry. Her energy was infectious, her language skills were impressive, and her ability to connect with people from diverse cultural backgrounds made her invaluable for international cruises. Isabella's approach to cruise entertainment was comprehensive and sophisticated in ways that distinguished her from many of her colleagues in the industry. While other animators might focus on routine activities and scheduled events, Isabella demonstrated advanced understanding of crowd psychology, crisis management, and logistical coordination that suggested training that went beyond standard hospitality education. What none of Isabella's colleagues or the thousands of passengers who had enjoyed her entertainment programs knew was that her assignment aboard Royal Caribbean cruise ships was not a career transition from theater work, but rather a carefully orchestrated undercover operation conducted by one of the world's most elite naval intelligence services. Isabella Martinez was not just a cruise animator. She was Commander Isabella Martinez, a 15-year veteran of the Spanish Navy's Special Operations Command, with extensive experience in maritime security, counterterrorism operations, and naval intelligence gathering that had taken her to conflict zones and strategic waterways around the globe. Her military background included graduation from Spain's Naval War College, specialized training in maritime counterterrorism, and operational experience in the Mediterranean, Red Sea, and Indian Ocean regions where piracy and terrorist activities posed ongoing threats to commercial shipping and passenger vessels. Isabella had served aboard Spanish naval vessels, participated in NATO maritime security operations, and conducted classified missions that had earned her decorations for valor and exceptional service. The decision to place Isabella in an undercover assignment aboard international cruise ships had been made at the highest levels of European maritime security cooperation, based on intelligence indicating that terrorist organizations were increasingly viewing passenger vessels as targets for attacks that could generate maximum international attention while demonstrating their capability to strike civilian targets in international waters. Isabella's mission was to serve as an early warning system for potential terrorist threats while maintaining her cover as an entertainment professional, ready to coordinate response efforts if situations arose that required her actual military expertise and command authority. Her position as head animator provided perfect cover for her real purpose, allowing her to monitor passenger activities and crew operations while appearing to conduct routine entertainment coordination. The sophisticated nature of Isabella's cover identity required her to actually perform cruise animation duties at an expert level, which meant she had undergone intensive training in entertainment production, hospitality management, and passenger relations to ensure that her cover identity would withstand scrutiny from experienced cruise industry professionals and international passengers. For 3 years, Isabella had successfully maintained her dual role without incident. She had identified several potential security concerns, contributed to investigations of suspicious passenger activities, and provided intelligence reports that had enhanced maritime security cooperation between European naval forces and commercial shipping companies. Isabella's daily routine aboard the Harmony provided ideal cover for her counterterrorism activities. The constant interaction with international passengers gave her access to individuals and conversations that might reveal terrorist planning or suspicious activities, while her position coordinating ship-wide events allowed her to monitor activities throughout the vessel without arousing suspicion. The crisis that would ultimately expose Isabella's true identity began on the fourth day of the Mediterranean cruise, as the Harmony was sailing between Naples and the French Riviera through waters that had recently experienced increased piracy activity. Intelligence reports had indicated that terrorist organizations with maritime capabilities were operating in the region, but no specific threats had been identified against passenger vessels. The morning had proceeded normally, with Isabella conducting her usual rounds of passenger activities including children's programs, adult fitness classes, and preparation for the evening's entertainment schedule. The ship's security systems were functioning normally, passenger activities were proceeding as planned, and there were no indications of potential problems that would require enhanced security measures. The first sign of trouble came at approximately 2:30 p.m. when the ship's radar operators detected several fast-moving vessels approaching the Harmony from different directions. The vessel's speed and coordination suggested intentional intercept rather than routine maritime traffic, and their refusal to respond to radio communications indicated potential hostile intent. Within minutes, it became apparent that the Harmony was under attack by a coordinated group of armed individuals who had approached the ship using high-speed boats equipped with grappling equipment and weapons. The attackers demonstrated sophisticated knowledge of cruise ship vulnerabilities and appeared to have planned their assault to exploit weaknesses in the vessel's security systems. The terrorists' initial assault focused on gaining access to the ship's bridge and engine room, indicating their intention to seize control of the vessel's navigation and propulsion systems. Their coordination and equipment suggested military-style training and preparation that went beyond typical piracy operations, pointing to a well-organized terrorist attack rather than opportunistic criminal activity. As the attack unfolded, the ship's security personnel found themselves outgunned and outnumbered by attackers who demonstrated superior weapons, tactics, and familiarity with maritime assault procedures. The cruise ship security systems, designed primarily to prevent passenger accidents and minor criminal activities, were inadequate for dealing with a coordinated terrorist assault. Isabella was conducting a children's magic show in the main theater when the ship's general alarm sounded, followed by announcements requesting all passengers to return to their cabins immediately. The sudden change from routine cruise activities to emergency procedures created confusion and panic among passengers who had no experience with maritime security threats. As the situation deteriorated and reports of armed attackers spread throughout the ship, Isabel realized that the cruise ship's standard security procedures would be insufficient to deal with a terrorist assault of this magnitude. Her naval intelligence training told her that immediate military-style response would be necessary to prevent the terrorists from achieving their objectives. The decision to reveal her true identity was not made lightly. Isabella had spent 3 years building her cover as a cruise animator, and exposing her military background would compromise not only her current assignment, but potentially other ongoing maritime security operations that depended on the secrecy of naval intelligence activities aboard commercial vessels. However, the threat posed by the terrorist assault was serious enough to justify the compromise of Isabella's cover. The attackers' sophisticated capabilities and obvious intention to seize control of the ship created immediate danger to the lives of thousands of passengers and crew members who had no means of defending themselves against a coordinated military-style attack. Isabella made her way to the ship's public address system and activated emergency communication protocols that would allow her to coordinate response efforts throughout the vessel. Her announcement would transform her from entertainment staff to military commander, but the situation required leadership that only her naval training and experience could provide. Speaking into the ship's communication system with the calm authority of a military officer rather than the cheerful enthusiasm of a cruise animator, Isabella identified herself using naval protocols that immediately marked her as something other than a routine crew member. "This is Navigator 4 assuming command," she announced, using the operational call sign that identified her as a Spanish naval intelligence operative with authority to coordinate maritime security responses. "All crew members report to emergency stations. All passengers remain in cabins until further notice." The effect of Isabella's announcement on the ship's crew was immediate and dramatic. Her transformation from entertainment staff to military commander was complete and convincing, and her obvious knowledge of emergency procedures and command protocols confirmed her credentials to anyone who might have doubted her authority. Isabella's naval training immediately proved invaluable as she began coordinating defensive measures using the ship's communication systems, crew resources, and structural advantages to counter the terrorist assault. Her knowledge of maritime tactics and shipboard operations provided the crew with leadership and direction that had been lacking during the initial stages of the attack. Working through the ship's senior officers, Isabella implemented security procedures that utilized her understanding of naval combat and the unique characteristics of cruise ship design. Her expertise in maritime operations provided strategies and tactics that were specifically adapted to the challenges of defending a large passenger vessel against armed attackers. The response to Isabella's command was swift and professional. Crew members who had seemed confused and overwhelmed during the initial attack began implementing coordinated defensive measures under her direction, transforming from hospitality staff to an organized security force capable of protecting the ship and its passengers. Isabella's knowledge of terrorist tactics allowed her to anticipate the attackers' next moves and position defensive resources to maximum advantage. Her understanding of ship design and maritime engineering enabled her to use the Harmony's structure and systems as tactical advantages in countering the assault. The counterattack that Isabella coordinated was methodical and effective, utilizing crew members' knowledge of the ship's layout combined with her military expertise to systematically neutralize the terrorist threat. Her leadership transformed what had been a chaotic emergency into an organized military-style operation that successfully defended the vessel. The successful defense of the Harmony demonstrated the value of having experienced military personnel positioned aboard commercial vessels where they could respond to threats that exceeded the capabilities of standard maritime security procedures. Isabella's naval training had provided exactly the expertise needed to counter a sophisticated terrorist assault. The revelation of Isabella's true identity had immediate implications for maritime security policies and the protection of commercial passenger vessels. Her success in maintaining cover while remaining ready to respond to threats suggested new possibilities for enhancing cruise ship security through strategic placement of qualified military personnel. For Isabel, the exposure of her cover identity marked the end of one assignment and the beginning of new responsibilities that would utilize both her naval expertise and her experience in maritime security operations. Her successful defense of the Harmony had proven the effectiveness of embedding military professionals in civilian roles, where they could monitor threats and respond when necessary. The passengers and crew who had known Isabella as an entertainment professional gained new appreciation for the hidden layers of protection that safeguarded commercial maritime travel and the dedication of military personnel who served without recognition in roles that concealed their true capabilities. Isabella's story became a classified case study within naval intelligence circles about successful long-term undercover operations and the value of placing experienced military officers in positions where they could identify and counter threats to civilian maritime transportation. Years later, after Isabella had moved on to other assignments that utilized her unique combination of naval expertise and intelligence experience, the maritime industry would implement new security protocols based on lessons learned from the Harmony incident and the demonstrated value of embedded military professionals. Commander Isabella Martinez had proven that the most effective maritime security often came from those who served without acknowledgement, maintaining civilian cover identities, while quietly monitoring threats and remaining ready to act when their military training and command experience were needed to protect innocent lives. The crew's animator, who had seemed dedicated to passenger entertainment, had actually been one of Spain's most experienced naval intelligence officers, demonstrating that effective maritime security depended on the willingness of elite military personnel to serve in roles that concealed their expertise until circumstances demanded their true capabilities. Her successful defense of the Harmony had shown that terrorist threats to civilian maritime targets could be countered through the strategic positioning of qualified military professionals who could provide command leadership and tactical expertise when standard security procedures proved insufficient for protecting passenger vessels and their occupants. Navigator 4 had answered the call when her expertise was needed, proving that maritime security legends were often hidden among cruise ship crew members, ready to reveal their true capabilities when passengers' lives depended on military training and leadership that could counter threats beyond the scope of routine maritime security measures.